Stack. What's going on, sir?
My brother E, what's going on, man? Good to see you, bro.
Oh, great to see you too, man. Look, I appreciate you coming on basketballnews.com and Fly TV on the rematch. There's a lot I want to talk to you about. Nothing about basketball. I mean, we're talking about, other stuff. And that's the mutual respect we've always had for each other on that tip. So I just want to tell you before we even start that I have a lot of respect for the way that you've been using your platform and the way that you've been using your voice. And I know how, they were really demonizing you for a long time, especially after the brawl. And you've really taken that and converted everything. And you've become an activist. You're doing great with your podcast and everything like that. All the smoke. I think it's fantastic. What you and Matt are doing. So I just want to start off by giving you your props and stuff like that for everything you're doing right now.
And I appreciate you as well, man. I think what we all do, we all have the same goal. I think it's many times where I watch your IG and your show, and I get educated on a lot of things to help me on my show. So I think we all benefiting from each other. Like you said, the respect has been there way before all this. So
right,
we understand each other, and the respect is mutual.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So I want to go back to George Floyd, and one of the things the media loves to demonize us after we are murdered by the police. And, I want to start off by painting the correct picture of him, because even now you hear people talking about George Floyd and they're saying different things and bringing up different things of his past and everything like that, like they always do. They did it with Eric Garner, did it with Trayvon Martin, did it with everybody. But I want to talk about who George Floyd was as the person, not the hashtag, you know what I mean, but the person. So talk about the George Floyd that you knew.
Georgie, the best way to sum it up, he's basically every black man that come up in the ghetto that's trying to make it out and make a better way for their family. You make mistakes, you try to figure it out, and the only way you can learn is from experience. I think the areas that he grew up in, I know the area he grew up in, it took him under, like it do a lot of young black men that don't have the resources to get out and to do better things. But at the same time, he was someone that he wanted to provide for everybody. He's a black man. He wanted to protect and provide for his family and for his family to have better things. And in the midst of that, he sold drugs, did some things he shouldn't have did some things he shouldn't have did, and ended up going to jail and rehabilitating himself. End up, after all that, going through all that in the ghetto, trying to make it out, he gets to Minnesota to a point where he changed his life. And sometimes is, in order to make a complete change, you have to change your surroundings. You have to change exactly where you at. So he knew moving to Minnesota and getting away from that Houston Third Ward area was his only chance of actually changing his life for his daughter, Gianna. That's all we talked about. Our daughters are the same age. So all he wanted to do was do better for Gianna. And he was just a guy that struggled a lot with trying to find his way. But his heart was always gold. He took a lot of steps as far as religion to try to bless his new journey. And that's what hurt the family so much. When he finally got to the point, where he was changing his life and he was taking steps, not just saying he was changing his life, but taking steps to change his life, he gets released, and that's what hurt the most.
Talk about the work that he did. He did some work in the church and did some work with clothes. I've seen you talk about how he would call you for clothes, not for money, but for clothes to assist in the programs that he was doing. Talk about that.
I think what was big was we both had big religious backgrounds. And he always spoke about God, because I know most of my friends that go to jail, you know what I'm saying, when they go to jail, they come out with a deeper relationship, whether it's with Allah, whether God and Allah are the same person, but whether it's Muslim, Baptist, whatever. I think when he came home and he wanted to change his life, he knew that the only way he could actually get there is by having a relationship with a higher power. It couldn't be his homeboys. It couldn't be relying on them. It couldn't be relying on nobody on the street. It had to be something that could take him away out the midst of what he was in every day. And he dedicated himself to, it was times where I seen him going, getting clothes and going dress up and preach. Like he was even preaching at some times. So it was just in his heart. It was just in his heart. He was one of those dudes. He had a great heart. He wanted to do the right things. But a lot of times you don't get a chance to do the right things when you're struggling and trying to make a better life for other people. You got to figure it out and make some mistakes.
Now, how did y'all meet?
It's a funny story. So I'm from Port Arthur, Texas, which is like an hour and a half away, an hour away. And rest in peace to one of our friends, his name is Telly. He came down to Port Arthur because he was from Port Arthur, Houston. He told me, like, Steve, I got somebody that look like you. Y'all might have the same daddy. And I'm like, yeah, right, bro. He's like, man, when I bring him down here, you're going to see. I'm on the court a couple of days later. He pull up with him. As soon as he walk on the court, the first thing we say to each other, God is my witness. Who your daddy? We look that much alike, bro. And from that day on, I think the fact that we look so much alike, we both were tall, we both did a lot of the same things. He was a little older than me. I think that made us gel. And when I made it to the NBA, from everything that I did, he was living through me. When the season was over, I picked him up, and everywhere he was proud to tell people that we were twins. That's my twin. Because he played sports. He wanted to make it to professionals in football and basketball. Certain situations, he didn't get the same opportunities I got. So I lived through him. So, but the fact of us living together, looking alike, the fact that everywhere I went, he wanted to be my protector because he actually felt like he was my twin. I think our relationship just gelled from that day, and we actually asked each other as soon as we saw each other, "Who is your daddy?" Because we looked that much alike.
And this was before you got to the league. So this is when you was in high school.
Yeah, I was 16. I met him. I was 16 at the time.
Wow. Wow. And you know his family. So you know his mother and you know his baby's mother. Like you know his family, right?
Oh yeah, like his mom. I met his mom a couple times when he was living because I used to always go to Houston, to his part of Houston, and hang out with him in Houston in the summertime. I was with him all the time. So I knew him, his sister, and his cousin Wu, but I knew his daughter Gigi because that's all we talked about. And every time I was with Houston, he made sure that I seen her. I knew who she was. And I really didn't know the family too well because
Okay.
I was in the streets. We was every time I seen him, we was in the streets hanging out. I seen his mom probably because of picking him up, and I seen his cousin Wu is because he was out in the neighborhood sometimes, and his sister was in the street. So I just knew the people was in the street. His brothers and them, I've never seen them. I've never seen them on the block. I never rode with them. I've never seen none of them. All his friends that I knew were in the streets where we were at the time.
And with him, talk about the clothes. What he actually did with the clothes. Like, what was his program?
Yeah, well, the first time he called me, he was like, "Bro, I know I'll be bothering you a lot. I know I'll be blowing your phone up, but I don't need no money this time. I actually got some," because he took a CDL class to get his CDL license. So he wanted to dress up the class, and when he passed, he wanted to dress up and show him that he was gonna be professional. So he kept calling like, "Bro, okay, well, look, not just that, I got a job interview. I want to go to this church and give these guys." Like every time, the last 3-4 times we spoke, it was about job interviews. It was about a CDL license, and it was about clothes for him and another guy for job interviews.
No.
He never called about money because we had been through that stage.
Right.
And he'd be calling me for money a lot of times, and a lot of times I came through for him, even when he was in jail. But he got to the point now where the conversations we were having, it was more me giving him game and not just giving him what he want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, bro,
right.
Get here, you got to do this. You got to make a change. Like, I'm willing to help you do this. It ain't gonna be money. I can't keep sending you money when I know what you're doing with it. The conversation. So it got to the point where he understood me and wasn't just listening to me. He understood me, and I think that's why I was so hurt too, because we had finally got to the point where he was taking my advice on how to go in the right direction, and he's seen everything that I've been through. That he know that in order for us to continue to build an arts for him to get to where he needs to go in his life, he has to come type of way, listen to me and take my advice. And I think he was starting to do that.
So talk to me about where you were, like set the scene for me of when you got the call and the information about what happened to him. Where were you? Who broke it to you? And what was your immediate reaction?
I was right here on the same couch I'm sitting on. It was probably like 10:30 in the morning. I'm on the couch sleeping with my daughter. My daughter's room's upstairs, but she don't like to sleep in her room because my room is downstairs. So she sleeps on the couch and watch TV so she can be close to me.
Okay.
And some made me get up and come get on the couch with her. So I was just laying on the couch with her that morning. And me and my girlfriend's mom talk about police brutality and all the nonsense that's done to black people all the time. And she sends me videos all the time. So I get my phone is ringing, vibrating, excuse me, and I look and I see the video from her, but I don't even correlate that this is my brother. My girl's from Minnesota, her family lives So I'm not even thinking about Georgie when she sent me the video. I look at it, not even picturing George. I'm like, oh man, they killed another brother. As I put the phone down, my phone just vibrates. And I pick up the phone and I look at the phone from a message from my brother, my friend Mike D, and it says, "You see what they did your twin in Minnesota." Huh? And I went back to the video from my girlfriend's mother. And I see the video and I slowly lock in and see that's him on the ground. And I lose. I lose it. I get to throwing stuff. I jumped up and scared my daughter, screaming. I was hurt, bro. I was actually hurt because I saw myself down there. This is somebody who I consider my twin getting murdered by the police for the world to see. I never thought that I would see that with my own eyes. Somebody that I love, that I consider me. I've never dealt with nothing like that, in my life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to see that, it knocked the wind out of me. Honestly, it knocked the wind out of me, and I just cried, man, until I was able to get a hold of myself.
And I'm looking at the video, and everybody saw the video, and I'm looking at just the evil of him. The officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on his neck, and the way that he put his hand in his pocket. And then afterwards, they say, well, the reason why he was putting his hand in his pocket is so he can apply more pressure to his neck. And the facial expression that he had, like it was just nothing. I mean, I looked at it, and and I'm looking at it with my kids, and I'm breaking down. You know what I mean? Because it's so. We talk about Black Lives Matter, and that showed us that to that officer and all those officers around him, our lives didn't matter at all. And that you don't even treat an animal like that. I mean, if everybody saw a dog being murdered like that,
they would go crazy.
They would have go crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. And that's the part where that was so tough to me, because it's like, you think that we have some kind of progress, and then you see something like that, and it just knocks us all the way back. As far as I'm feeling, I'm like, wow, so what do we do now? And you went into work mode after that. Like that happened, you had your moment of grieving, you had your moment of being upset. Like you said, you was throwing things upset, and then right after that, you went into work mode. Talk about that switch and what you went into actually doing right after that.
You never know what God has for you in your life. I was real upset not making all-star games in my career, being judged for the brawl, for having my teammates back, and it messed up my career. All my accolades I should have gotten. I know I should have been an all-star at least 2 or 3 times. God works in mysterious ways. What I'm doing now, I want to be known for that. I don't even want to be known for basketball at all. I want to be known for what I'm doing now. And like I said, you never know what God has for you. Me going to Minnesota, like you spoke earlier, I wanted to go down there so they wouldn't demean my brother's name. That's, like you said, that's the first thing they do when they murder one of us and try to make it look valid. They demean our character. I wanted to go down there to let the world know who he was. 9 out of 10 times when this happened, none of these people that get killed by the police have a celebrity to speak up for them. That's one thing what messed up Minnesota and the world. Nobody expected Stephen Jackson to be considered George Floyd twin. And nobody expects Stephen Jackson to put everything he had on the line for him and for fight for justice for him. While I was in Minnesota going down there to speak up for my brother, the thing that blew my mind was, not only did they know he had a celebrity to speak up for him, but at the time I spoke up for him, my podcast was one of the bigger podcasts in the world. All over ESPN, I was doing all the shows, so the timing was better, and nobody expected him to have somebody to speak up for him. But when I went down there, after I'm speaking up for him, to see the city of Minnesota, how they got behind me and supported me, lets me know that this has been going on for a long time. I walked to the corner. His name is Hardell Sherrill. His mama standing on the corner, hard down, crying with a sign trying to get justice for her son. Just by herself. She has no Stephen Jackson to speak up for her, so we stopped. I had all kind of cameras following me at the time. I stopped. I put the camera and the mics in front of her. She tell the whole story. I ended up being the voice for her. So I inherited being the voice for so many people that's been brutalized by police or by racism and never got justice. And the fact that it was a celebrity basketball player that everybody knew, that a lot of people respected and loved, all 18 countries and 50 states got behind me. The biggest the biggest protest all at one time ever in the history of protests. So
Yeah.
the fact that that happened, I just dropped on my knees because I never know God will make my life that important.
Mm-hmm.
This is way more important than basketball to me because I'm changing lives, and it sparked me to want to go to all 50 states and to let people know in the areas we come from that we care about them, that we hear them, that we have money to give y'all resources and help y'all to try to get to a better life. And it's just God. Like I said, God, you never know what God had, but it was meant for me to be in this position. It was meant for me to have a domino effect of helping people after going out there and stand up for my brother. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. I would rather be known for what I'm doing now than anything.
You know, it's interesting because I'm thinking about it, and I've been, you know, saying this repeatedly, that this George Floyd case was the most that I've ever seen white people protesting in the streets after the death of a black man in my lifetime. You know, I have never seen anything like that before. And a lot of that goes back to you and to you and the work that you've done and the way that you put it on the map and the way that you know, and it takes a celebrity to bring it to the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the work that you're doing. I'm looking at some protests, and it's all white people. Like
Yeah.
ain't no black people in the camera. You know what I mean? Just like a whole sea of white people protested, and I've never seen that. And talk about that aspect of the unity that you saw across the country of people saying, "No, this is not right." You know what I mean? And we need to do something about this.
Yeah, you know me. I'm blacker than black. It don't
Mm-hmm.
to me. Proud, super proud black. I'm talking about times 20.
Mm-hmm.
Same time, how I was raised, I tell people all the time, the same park that I met George Floyd at. A Jewish kid drove down there when I was 16 and gave me an opportunity to play AAU basketball, something I never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So if he would have never had the guts to pull up in the ghetto and give me an opportunity, I would never been. You would have never heard of me. And I say that to say, I've always loved everybody and respected everybody, and knew how to treat people regardless of what they look like. I grew up with Mexicans, and some Mexicans in my life has shown me more love and had my back more than some of my own people. The Jewish kid, he showed me more love and gave me an opportunity to make it to the NBA. Nobody in my hometown never even thought about giving me an opportunity like that when they had the resources to take me certain places. So when I see all these people from other races come and stand behind me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I've never said this. When I was in Minnesota and I pulled out and I was driving while they was marching and tearing up stuff, a couple of Ethiopian kids seen me when I got out the car and immediately said my name and said George Floyd and immediately started tearing stuff up.
Oh wow.
So I'm saying that to say the 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 I've always knew how to love everybody, and I've told somebody from every race that I love them and mean it. So
Mm-hmm.
when I see people from every race out there supporting me, I think it's only right because that's the energy I've always given off my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's to the point now where you can't say police brutality or brutality against black people is not real. Everyone has seen it
Mm-hmm.
at the highest form with George Floyd on TV, and you even seen it after that with Ahmaud Arbery.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it again. They still killing us. Yesterday, say they killed another black man, so they still killing us.
All right.
But it was refreshing to me to see that people are finally starting to understand our plight and getting rid of the black people just complaining. Da da da. They're starting to do their history. They're starting to understand how this place was created. They're starting to understand that when the Constitution was wrote, everybody that wrote the Constitution had slaves right
Mm-hmm.
outside. So
Mm-hmm.
so nothing was built for us for the betterment of us. And people are starting to understand that. They're just not listening to the songs and the hymns and seeing the black fist. They're doing their homework
Right.
and how this place was created, how black people was brought over. How, they understand the whole thing now. And by understanding our plight, they're willing to come from behind the doors saying they support black people. No, we're coming out and stand on the side of you now.
Right.
We're holding everybody accountable. And I think that's what it is. That's why we're making change now, because you can't just say you support black people from a text message or a DM or a phone call. You have to get out here and stand with us to show solidarity.
That's true. That's true. I want to ask you three questions that my daughter Imani, she's 12 years old,
Nice.
and their questions, I told her that I was going to interview you, and she's familiar with the case, and we've been watching it and reading up on it. She asks questions. She's a question asker, and I love that about her. So I want to ask her three questions, and these are straight from Imani. So the first question was, she asked me if, she saw that this all started over a suspected counterfeit $20 bill. And she asked me, and she said, well, what if you're, getting change from somebody, or you pay for something and somebody gives you a fake bill? And what if you go to the store and you just hand it to them? She's like, do you ever like look up at the bill and see if it's, so what if you were in that situation that like that? And she wanted me to ask you that same question. Have you ever thought about that? Because that's something where, with our kids, we think about, oh no, or what about our children when we hear that? Our children think about, what about us if we're in that situation? Do you know what I mean? And have you had any type of conversations like that with your kids, or any thought about that at all?
Well, first of all, salute the Queen Imani. Salute to your queen.
Okay.
I think what was crazy was when I was getting ready to go to Minnesota, after everything happened with my daughter that month, she was like, Dad, I don't want to go home today. I'm like, why? It's because I feel like you need me. I saw what happened to your friend. So that made me lose it even more. That made me even more angry. But come to find out, the $20 wasn't even fake. So let me tell you this. So when I got to Minnesota, we actually went to the store. We went to the area where it happened, the street, and I stayed there for weeks. I stayed actually in Minnesota almost a month and a half. And I talked to so many people, and we got in front of the store owner. And it was people in that store that said the $20 wasn't even fake. That's how it started. It started for assuming it was a fake 20. So all this stuff has to come out in the trial. The $20 wasn't even fake. You assumed that by looking at this man, and assumed that he was coming in up with a fake $20 bill. Now, I've seen with my own eyes banks pass a $20 bill that was fake in a stack full of 20s. The bank got slipped up and got, and they had a fake 20. So
Right.
it happens.
Right.
It happens. And stores have given away fake money and change and don't even know they're giving away fake money.
Right.
But at that situation, I know my brother, he was working, and I know he didn't have no fake $20 bill. I know the whole situation was twisted. The officer, Sherman, they had a previous disagreement at a club, because all the people at the club that I know of, from what I was told when I was in Minnesota, the people at the club had a relationship with my brother, because it's always that cool bounce at the club that let guys smoke, that let them do things that they ain't supposed to do in the club, and Sherman didn't like that. And and I also heard some other things about those cops having a sex ring, and my brother getting the whiff of it, and they thought he was gonna blow the whistle on.
I read that.
You know what I'm saying? But my brother wasn't that type to snitch on nobody. It's not in his DNA. But the way the whole thing played out and how I see it, I can see something happen like that. The way he killed my brother, he felt like my brother was gonna do something to affect him in some type of way, and I think that's why all that happened. To
So
me, personally, that's why I think it happened.
Looked like more like an execution than
Yeah.
right, and they just used the $20 bill as an excuse and the resisting arrest as an excuse, but more of a calculated execution.
Even with EMS showing up with guns.
Right.
We never seen that. All the times
Yeah.
I've seen EMS in my neighborhood, people getting shot and beat up, I've never seen EMS with guns.
Right.
That was the first time seeing that as well.
Right. So the second question that Imani wanted me to ask you, and she asked me this as well. She said, if the person wasn't there to record Officer Derek Chauvin murdering George Floyd, and all the police holding him down and watching and everything like that, do you feel that we would have ever heard of this case?
Nope, because I wouldn't have never seen it. I would have never stepped out there. The world's outrage wouldn't have been the same if the world couldn't see it. It was all on TV all day. If we didn't record it, it would have been just like the millions of other murders that we don't hear about now today.
Right.
It would have been the same thing.
Right. I agree. And I wish I could tell my daughter, no, you know what I mean? But I had to be honest with her. I was like, no, nothing, and that's tough for us. So the last question my daughter asked was, she saw you with George Floyd's daughter on your shoulders. It was just a powerful image, the image seen around the world. And she wanted me to ask you, how is his daughter doing now?
That's a great question. She was just here 2 days ago. We threw her a big birthday party. Just had a birthday party here.
Oh, that's great.
In Atlanta. I had been planning this party, and some kind of way little baby heard what I was doing for, and came and offered to pay for the party, which was cool on his behalf. He didn't have to do.
That's what's up.
We didn't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? I got money. We were straight. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that
Right.
he do it, you know, just to make her birthday, you know, a success, I appreciate him for that. But she's doing great, man. I think we're doing a great job of keeping her lifted, keeping her spirits high. She's became real close with my brother Will's granddaughter and my daughter Sky. And I think the fact that she's getting so much love from not just us, from people all around the world, support. And I'm just continuing to do what I said I was going to do. You know, I said I was going to be my brother's keeper and take care of his daughter, make sure that her next days are her best days. And, you know, I had a lot of my friends, Kyrie Irving bought him a house. Lil Wayne's manager bought him a Mercedes-Benz. Barbara Streisand gave him stock in Disney. So I think God has definitely blessed her, and right now she's doing the best she's ever done. She's happy. We just wait for all this trial and stuff to get out the way, where she don't have to keep reliving this situation.
Right.
And you know, living her life and being happy.
So you talked about some of the rappers and entertainers that you've connected with. Who are some of the activists that you've connected with? And I've seen speaking. I saw Tamika Mallory speaking with you.
Yeah.
I think I saw Benjamin Crump. Who are some of the activists that you've connected with?
I've connected with Tamika Mallory. She's a sweetheart. One of the strongest women I've ever been around. Me and Ben Crump don't see eye to eye. We never have.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't see eye to eye.
Now, why is that? Why is that?
Well, because I think everything he does is for a personal gain. It's not for. I think if you look at a lot of these cases, he don't win, he get money, but he never concerns himself with winning. If you look at all his cases, he get the money, but how many has he won?
And why is that? Because I'm actually going to interview him, and I want to ask him that specific question. I want to ask him, why is it so hard to get a conviction? Why is it so hard to get a police officer convicted?
Well, me personally, I think a lot of times if you take the money before the trial, that lets you know. You know, if you take $12 million before the actual trial, it's basically like they paid you off already. So regardless of the outcome of the trial, they feel like they took care of you. So,
but is it the civil case or in the criminal case, which are two different cases? I'm not no lawyer expert, so I don't. Yeah, okay, all right. I don't think
you're right. It's two different.
Right. Yeah.
Civil, it's two different things, but at the same time, as a lawyer, once you feel like that you got the family paid, I say this in one of my songs. Civil suits help pay the pain away. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing to me. I don't think they go into it with the intention to actually get justice. I think they go into it with the intention to get money for the family, try to put a Band-Aid on their hurt, and they benefited from it as well. See, it's 4 lawyers that get all these type of cases, and they share them and they work together.
Who are the 4 lawyers?
It's Chris and Justin. I don't know the name. It's Ben.
Benjamin Crump.
It's another lady, and it's Lee Merritt.
Lee Merritt.
Go for it. They get all these type of cases, right?
Right.
So I just don't see it as, and I'm just talking about Ben. I don't Ben being that type of guy where he's genuinely in it for the family. He's genuinely in it from the heart. It's all beneficial. And I know Ben want to be in politics and all types of stuff. See, me, this is how I feel about it. When you represent the family and you taking them all to Washington to speak and all this stuff, that has nothing to do with the betterment of that family. That's more of you building a case, you looking a certain way, you trying to use them in the state to try to deter them to do certain stuff. To me, that's not genuine. To me, that's not genuine. Yeah, he has a job to do, and I understand that. But to me, that's not genuine because you're putting people in these positions to do interviews that never done interviews. You have them reading off a piece of paper where it doesn't look genuine. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you know if it looks scripted on TV, then just imagine how it looks to those people that you actually talking to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think one of the things that I'm going to do with, I've connected with a lot of family members of victims of police brutality since my We Matter book. And I worked with Emerald Garner, who is Eric Garner's daughter, and Tiffany Crutcher, who is Terrence Crutcher's sister, and, the such. And I've seen Ben Crump at all of this stuff with them. And I'm just thinking about it, if he does get them a settlement, that helps them in that way. I just wonder why none of the police officers have been convicted. It'd be great to get both.
Right.
But one without the other. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Are they being exploited, or are they, actually being helped? And I asked them the question, and from their perspective, they're like, well, that money helps because
Yeah.
every time we have court fees, lawyer fees, all of those things. And a lot of people don't know that when you see family members of the victims and stuff like that, and they're going through the case, those are all billable hours. Like they, you know what I mean? They get a bill after all of that. And so a lot of the settlement that they get goes to legal fees, and the police officer doesn't even get convicted. And that's part of the issue and the problem, because they should be able to get both. Then you have to ask, why are all these cities paying people off but not convicting the police officers?
You know what? And you know, I look at that, you know, those silver suits, I look at it like this too. The family lost somebody. God know how to make a way when it ain't a way.
Right.
I'm saying I don't really give too much credit to the lawyers.
Okay.
That's God making a way from a family that's been through a lot.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. The money does help these people, and I think they deserve way more than that. But money life back. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Me, along, like you say, along with the money, I think that goes hand in hand, because the family can have all the money in the world, but knowing that they didn't get justice for somebody that was brutally murdered for the world to see, that has to bother them as well.
I agree. Now let me ask you one more question. I'll let you go. I know we stayed a little bit longer than I said we were going to.
I've been talking to you anyway, so we good.
Okay, all right, good. I mean, because this is great stuff, and a lot of times when you're on different programs, you're not on long enough to really be able to break it all the way down. And they're great interviews, you know, that I've seen you on, but it's not, you know, it's like little quick, you know what I mean, segments. And I want you to be able to discuss what does justice look like for George Floyd to you?
You know, I can tell you what I think it should look like, but I don't know what justice look like because I've never seen it.
Okay, good, good point.
Can't give you a good answer, but what I hope justice would look like is the same way that if I went down the street and killed another black man over nonsense and they give me 30, 40 years or maybe even life, that should be the same consequences for a cop murdering a black man. It should be, you know, and that's what I think justice is. I don't think justice is an eye for an eye. I don't want that karma on my life. I don't go outside and start killing white people. I'm saying that's not justice to me. That's not justice to me. Justice is hanging their ass just like they used to hang us when we do something wrong. You know, putting them in jail, giving them life the same way they would give us life. You know, perfect example. When they so say arrested Chauvin, how come we didn't see no public arrest?
Right.
Let me get behind on child support payments. Let me not pay some tickets. We got to walk the walk of shame. They finna kick my door in, They finna kick my door in front of my kids and drag me out of here. You know, dragging me out of here over a child support payment. We don't see no public arrest when police kill us and stuff like that. So I think as a whole, all that stuff needs to be equal. That's equality. That's justice. Treating them just like y'all treat us. And I know we got a long way to get to that because the same system that we asked them to treat them the same way wasn't built to benefit us. It was treat us the same way that they treat us.
Right.
Built the same way. So to answer your question, the only way I can see justice is if these cops start going to jail for life and they start hanging them the same way they hang us for little crimes, tickets and stuff like that. Even drugs, weed, they hang us for weed. You know, and most of these cops, a lot of times like this, they get a pat on the back and like a $5,000 fine. But at the end of the day, what we don't know is they get money under the table. Right. From these police unions. We don't know this, but we have a black police union, an all black police union. How come we don't never see them when these white cops are murdering us? Right,
and I've done work with them, and I think they're great, but their voices aren't loud enough. Exactly. And their voices aren't reverberating around the country loud enough. And I think you brought up a great point that yes, you need to be able, the same penalty that we will get if we kill somebody, then they need to get if they kill somebody. The same way the penalty we need to get if we beat somebody to a bloody pulp in the middle of the street, they need to get if they beat somebody to the blood. But right now it's like they have a license to kill, a license to do whatever they want to do. And that's the problem. I mean, and it's like, if it's say, for instance, everything needs rules and regulations. We both have children, right? So if I told my children, you could do whatever you want to do and there will be no punishment ever, what I think is going to happen? They're going to do whatever they want to do, whatever they want, because they know they're not going to get in trouble for it. And that's kind of the way that police are right now. They know that they won't, even the fines, even the settlements that we were talking about before, that's not coming out of their pocket.
Right.
That should come out of their pension.
Yes.
They should have to pay the family member out of their pension. You know, they should have to give up their entire pension. There goes to the family member of the victim that they killed.
Right. Right.
Something where they feel it. But right now, it's like they could do whatever they want to do, and there's no penalty.
And they protect it, and they protect them. But you said this earlier. Chauvin's face, that showed a sense of security. I'm not worried. I know I'll be taken care of. I'm gonna have money if I get fired. The boys and the police force is gonna back me. They're gonna protect me. They're gonna send me where I need to be so my family won't get harmed. His whole face said all that in a nutshell.
Right. You're right. Now I want to ask you this though, and you now have this passion for using your voice, like you found your voice, and it's a beautiful thing when the light bulb goes off. And you're like, wow, I have this power just because I played ball, and all these people can be affected by my voice, and I can speak for people who can't speak for themselves because nobody will listen to them. Right. And so now you have a different feeling when you see other athletes not using their voice. And it's a balance, because I've shared that same feeling before. And you don't want to attack them, but you're frustrated because, man, you could be doing so much with your voice. You have so much power. And so I saw the comments that you made about James Harden. And people have to understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that wasn't a personal thing, like you have a problem with James Harden or a beef with James Harden. It was that James Harden, you wanted him to understand there's so much that you can be doing right now, but you're focused on this little silly stuff that don't mean nothing. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but break that down for me.
You're 100% right. I admire James. I'm a basketball player, so the things James does on the basketball court, I'm a fan. Before I got out the league, James was like a little brother. Like I said before, I used to let him wear my watches and stuff like that. So it didn't come from a place of hate. I wasn't trying to demean him or anything like that. But like you said, the space I'm in now, a lot of people don't know, Steve Silas is my first cousin. So everybody knows he should have had an opportunity at a head coaching job years ago. He's been on so many teams, the Warriors, so many organizations where he should have had a head coaching job. And I look at it now to the point where me being a fan of James Harden, I want to see him win and get to the next level. And you get to the point where, okay, the coach you praise D'Antoni, you praise him. You think he can't do no wrong. He hasn't held you accountable or hasn't helped you at all in your career. He just let you go out there and do what you want.
Right.
Where you're comfortable with not being held accountable. Now, when you get a new coach, when you get a new young blood, a young black coach, and you get two young studs that you never had, DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall, instead of doing what's right by a black coach who we all know they don't get the opportunities that they should, knowing that you have an opportunity to make him look good and also build with two young stars in the organization that's had your back since you came into the league. You would rather leave this young black coach instead of making him look good and follow one D'Antoni, who's the worst defensive coach in NBA history.
Yes, agreed.
That never won anything. That was given a Coach of the Year award.
And he quit on the Knicks. Don't leave that part out too.
Nobody likes him.
Right.
And then you want to follow, and then you're trying to get to a GM who just ruined basically your whole career in Houston.
Yeah.
But you want to follow these two guys and not make this black coach. So my whole thing was, James, look at the picture. You just turned down the most money you ever make in your life because you want to go play with somebody that's not holding you accountable. That looks bad on our part. That looks bad as a black man, because this black coach is sitting here with an opportunity to coach an NBA team and to make a name for himself as a black coach. You know how we be fighting for that. And you have an opportunity to make him look good, and the first thing you do is chase a white coach. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing to us as players. Me, I always been outspoken about certain stuff, even with Popovich when I played Popovich. When he did certain shit to certain players that I didn't agree with, I always spoke on it. Because
Right.
I've always been, Tim called me the ultimate team player. Because I've always been a team player. I care about the teammates. Even if I got to go against the coaches, I will. So for him to not automatically, especially everything we going through right now with fighting for equality and march and all this stuff, for him to blatantly disrespect the black coach,
I
that
hear you.
killed me. It killed me, and I felt like I had to say something. And you know what? It resonated to him. His ass went back to Houston.
He heard it.
He heard it, and I'll say this too, E, because I'm glad you asked me that question. It was never to demean James. I don't never demean people to gain something. You never benefit from that. That always backfire on you when you try to demean somebody to make yourself look better. I've never been that person. But I've always been a realist, and I see things different. And the main reason why they give black coaches these BS jobs when they first come in, because stars don't want to play for them. And that was a perfect example. And I had to address that to him. And I'm glad it opened his eyes because, like I said, a lot of people don't know Steve Silas, my cousin. But in order for us to kill this stigma of why black coaches can't get jobs, those star players, y'all got to start going to bat for them.
You're right.
And that situation was one that would help us. And I had to speak on it. It was no disrespect to James. You know, he can spend his money and hang with people and do whatever he wants, you know, with the rappers and stuff like that. But at this time, with all we got going on, with the way the city been behind you, with the way that like I said, with fight for equality and all this stuff, there's no way at a time like this you cannot stand up for a black coach. What he did was making it look bad, and even everybody that didn't know the actual situation, by him not want to be in Houston, they automatically thinking it's because of the coach.
I got you. Now that's a good point. Now I'm glad you broke that down like that, though. You made a lot of great points. So let me just last question for you. What's next for All the Smoke? Tell me what's next. I mean, I already know y'all got some amazing stuff coming up. So what's next for y'all?
Well, we got to get you on, bro. Because
all good.
The biggest thing for our show is that not only do we want to show, we want to give our brothers our flowers. You know, from everything we doing well, we don't salute each other enough. But also, our platform is to show all the basketball players like us how after basketball is supposed to look. You know what I mean?
Right.
We take pride in giving everybody their flowers because a lot of times, you know, even when we have AI and stuff like this on our show, AI don't get the justice and the props he deserves. You know, for changing the culture and the basketball player and the human being he is. So we had to give him that. So I think with us being able to control our own narrative now, us being able to give people the real stories, I think it's imperative that we continue to give each other, as far as athletes, our flowers, because people have looked at us so many ways on the outside looking in. We spoil. We don't deserve this. How did he get this? All this stuff. It's good for the world to see guys like you, guys like D Miles and Q Rich. What we're doing after basketball. You know, and our show is that. Our show is that. It's about giving athletes and our brothers our flowers while we still alive. And what's next coming for our show, man? We got skits coming.
Okay.
We got skits coming. We got so many new sponsors. I think we just dropped one of our best episodes with Jim Gray, the Honorable Jim Gray.
Yep.
Stories about Muhammad Ali's first and his last interview. That's gonna be a good show. Paul George. I think our Paul George episode is gonna be big because you're going to see the comfort in Paul George. And I think he knew when we was asking him all those tough questions that he was finna sign that 250. So he wasn't worried.
He wasn't worried about it.
He wasn't worried at all. But from, the Kobe episode to the D Wade episode to even the Jamel Hill episode to Shannon Sharp, I think we give off a vibe that we're not bringing nobody on our show to belittle them.
Right.
Bringing nobody on our show to embarrass them. I think we bringing them on the show so we can learn more about them, give them their flowers, but also give them a chance to control their own narrative.
I think that's great. And, I love what y'all doing. I love the knuckleheads, what they're doing, everybody, because, we spend so much time during our career dealing with reporters who mess up our story, that talk bad about us, but then try to smile us in our face the next day like everything's supposed to be cool. You know what I mean? That we have to talk to or else we'll get fined, even though they talk bad about us, nonstop and pick our games apart and pick our, misreport on stuff, everything like that. And that's one of the reasons why I even created the Rematch, because I wanted to showcase athletes and let them retell their stories, let them show, present themselves in a positive light. Because, as you know, the media, I mean, there's a reason why Malcolm X said the media is the most powerful entity, in the world, because they have the power to be able to control the minds of the masses. So they can, I mean, that's power. The media can make you look like a demon or make you look like an angel.
Exactly.
Depending on how they write their stories and cut their you know what I mean, their podcast or whatever.
Right, whatever get people to keep clicking on it.
Right. And that's why, and I love what y'all are doing. I watched the whole thing with AI with my son, and told my AAU team, and I was like, no, watch this. Watch him being open about mistakes that he made and what he learned from them and different things, and him being vulnerable and telling, you know what I mean, just being honest. And the thing about it is, we're able to share with other athletes, like share with you in a way that other reporters can't get them kind of interviews. And they mad at y'all. I see so many people talk bad about y'all, and these are other reporters. I'm like, wow, they just hating. That's all they're doing is hating, because they can't get that kind of an interview.
They can't get the content we get, because at the same, a lot of things, like you said, we've learned a lot of stuff through experience. And we got kids, boys, baby mamas. We done been in trouble in the NBA. We did cannabis. Like, it's not really much you can miss us with, and we wear our emotions on our sleeve. And even if it embarrassed me, that I feel like if I tell you this story, that it'll avoid you from going down the same road.
Right.
To do that.
Of course. That's what's up. So, hey, much respect to y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. Much respect to you. I'm going to have Matt on this as well. Matt Barnes is going to be here. So both of y'all are going to be a part of my next book, because I want to elevate the voices that we all have as athletes, and also be able to, push this along, because we're trying to, it's interesting. This whole stay in our lane thing, or, shut up and dribble type of thing, or like we're not able to speak on certain topics. Our generation's crushing that. Yeah. I mean, now the generation before us, back in the 90s, they was a little quiet for a little while. You had, Mahmoud, and you had, you know what I mean, like Craig Hodges. But other than that, people were kind of quiet. Our generation is different now, and it's beautiful to see. So I just want to tell you, much respect to you. Keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for being a part of the Rematch. Thanks for being a part of my book. And you know what I'm saying? Much respect to you.
Man, it's an honor to be a part of your book, man. I couldn't wait to get on the show, man. Let me say this before I finish. To Ben Crump, I might not agree with a lot of things, but I've been praying hard that he has a great case and he wins this case for my brother. He has my support. And I think at the end of the day, one thing about me and Matt Show, we know how to disagree with people without.
That's right.
It has my support in this case, you know what I'm saying? And I'm praying that everything works out also for him and also for the family.
That's what's up.